Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Serious Player Only Ranger 1. So Serious Player Only, this is their brand new hoop shoe, and they've had the Player 1 and the Player 1 Plus, which were absolutely amazing performers. And what I love about Serious Player Only is all of their shoes have a drop-in midsole, right? And also just keep in mind they are releasing a casual shoe as well, or like a casual inspired basketball shoe, which you can wear casually. Oh, you could do that with the Ranger 1 as well, but it's just really cool because if you buy any shoes from them, you can just change up the cushioning setup in pretty much all of your hoop shoes or just shoes in general, which I think is absolutely amazing. And they are pretty much the only company to give you a drop-in midsole that you can actually buy separately. Like all other companies that have a drop-in midsole kind of like in their shoe, they don't really sell the drop-in midsole separately, you know. But anyways, this is the Ranger 1. It retails for 190 bucks, which is freaking expensive. And also, you know, in the Player 1 Plus, they did give you 2 drop-in midsoles, but here in the Ranger 1 they don't. They only give you 1 set of drop-in midsoles, which comes with the actual shoe. So that definitely is a little bit of a downgrade. But how is the performance of this shoe? If you guys do want to cop, try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. And if you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you do buy the shoe from the affiliate link. So thank you guys as always for all of the support. But let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. In this colorway, we have a pretty much a solid, full-on solid black rubber outsole, right? We have this kind of like, it's a tire traction pattern, and it's kind of like a herringbone, a very, very thick herringbone traction pattern. It's multi-directional, and we also have a very fine texture on the actual tread as well, which is pretty interesting, right? But how is the traction? The traction is absolutely amazing, guys. It's top tier. And I don't know what they do with the rubber compound over at Serious Player Only, but all of their rubber compounds in all their shoes have been absolutely amazing. Has a really, really good stop. So if you're playing on a clean court, you're gonna have a top tier bite, right? And it pretty much stops on a dime. Also has a nice kind of loud high-pitched squeak, which I do like as well. That has nothing to do with performance, of course, but it does have a nice squeak. So yeah, if you're playing on a clean court, you're gonna have a really, really good time with it, right? And also, if you're playing on a dusty court, you're gonna have a really good time as well. It doesn't really pick up that much dust. It bites through dust extremely well. And if it does pick up a little bit of dust, you just do a slight wipe and you're good to go. And you have amazing stops again. So it has amazing top tier performance on a clean court and also a dusty court, right? But also, another thing that I really like about this shoe that they kind of bring back is the outsole curvature, right? So if you look at the Player 1 Plus, it's more inspired by like the Kobe's, you know, like the Kobe 11, the Kobe 9, where it's more of a flat kind of outsole, you know. But with the Rangers, they add an outsole curvature, which reminds me of not the Kyrie 2, 3, and 4, which had a really prominent outsole curvature. It reminds you a little bit more like the Kyrie 5, 6, 7, and 8. You know what I mean? Where there's a little bit of a curve here, a little bit of a rounded shape, but also that does help you keep you on like the medial side of your foot, you know, like where the balls of your foot is. So it gives you better grip when you're doing these types of movements, when you're doing crossovers, cuts, you know, stuff like that. So especially when you're getting very, very low to the ground. So that felt really, really nice. And also, if you're playing on an outdoor court, you should be fine. The rubber does feel pretty dang hard. The grooves are deep and also very, very thick. So yeah, the outsole, the traction is absolutely amazing in the Ranger 1s. Now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it's also much improved from the Player 1 Plus, which I do like, right? So for some reason, when they're designing a shoe with a drop-in midsole, they add plastic here, right? For example, in the Kobe 9, the Kobe 11, also with the Wade 808 3s, you know what I mean? So it's all plastic, feels kind of clunky here in the heel, but with the Rangers, they added an EVA midsole, right? It's also kind of soft, you know, so it has a nice little compression here in the heel. It has a nice curve shape as well, so it feels pretty dang smooth even if you're doing heel dominant strides, right? So coming here from the heel to the forefoot, we have a curve shape in the forefoot as well. So from this shape, it feels really, really smooth. And also they're saying it's a full length carbon plate, but then when you're looking at the dismantled kind of picture of it, it doesn't look full length. But either way, it has a little bit of a rebound back. You know what I mean? Has a little bit of a springiness. It's more just kind of soft, but there definitely is more tension than like, you know, the Kobe 9, Kobe 8, Kobe 11, and also the Player 1 Plus. Those shoes are extremely flexible. This has a little bit more tension in it, right? So giving you a nice little kind of pop leaving the forefoot a little bit, you know what I mean? So overall heel to toe transition, really smooth. Actually, I would say the smoothest heel to toe transition in any drop-in midsole that I've tested, right? Even the Zion 3 is all rubber here. It's very stiff. So I like what they did here in the Ranger 1. And then moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushioning setup is absolutely amazing, right? One thing that I don't like, however, is the court feel. Okay, so the court feel isn't terrible, but then comparing it to like the Player 1 Plus, it is a little bit higher up off the ground, but in turn, you do get better impact protection, right? Especially with the drop-in midsole that you're getting. So with the drop-in midsole, they're giving you the explosive drop-in midsole, right? So it kind of looks like Boost, and obviously has a good amount of bounce in it, especially here in the heel, and it has a good amount of kind of like compression as well right underneath your foot, right? So if you look also underneath that, we have obviously the EVA midsole, which is kind of thin, but it's still there. You know what I mean? So underneath the drop-in. So if you look at the Player 1 Plus, it's just the drop-in midsole and then the rubber. But with the Rangers, it's the drop-in midsole and then you have the EVA, right? But it's kind of thin, so it's still a little bit higher up off the ground, like I said. But with that EVA, you know, it does give you better impact protection because this foam is actually extremely soft. Kind of reminds me of like the 808-3 Ultras with the full-length boom, right? When you're doing hard impacts in that shoe, it does hurt a little bit because the foam is actually really soft. So it does make sense with what they did here in the Rangers. They have a very soft and bouncy drop-in midsole with a little bit of impact protection from the EVA, right? So yeah, the step-in comfort's great. It has a nice bounce, like I said, especially in the heel. You do need to break it in a little bit, you know, give it a day or two. But once you do break it in, it does have a nice compression and bounce. And also another thing that I love about this drop-in is they do have like a lining there, which I don't like all too much. I would rather prefer they did it like the 808-3s where they just kind of put a texture on the actual kind of foam, you know what I mean, instead of gluing this here. But also to improve the lockdown, right, they have this kind of like sticky material. It's like a silicone material with this red design on it that kind of just grabs your sock, and it feels really good for lockdown. So yeah, impact protection is great, balance is great, core feel is pretty good. Like I said, Player 1 Plus has really good core feel. This is a little bit higher up off the ground, so the core feel is still pretty good. So yeah, it's just an amazing cushioning setup that I feel like most people will enjoy, even if you're a guard, right? And also with the added EVA midsole, we have a good amount of compression as well. Like I said, most drop-in midsoles don't do that. So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper, so they kind of took it back to the old school. They're giving us suede in this colorway, and it feels pretty nice, right? It's not super buttery smooth, but it's actually pretty nice for quality. Also here in the toe box, I'm not a huge fan of this, you know what I mean? It's just like this plastic material, which doesn't feel the best for quality, but of course that'll be good for like durability and support, especially if you're doing toe drags. But yeah, here in the toe box, it does feel pretty nice. And also here in the midfoot, it does stay pretty dang thin, right? For the tongue, we have like an average amount of padding. It's not super well padded. It does feel kind of cozy on top of your foot. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then also we have like an open kind of mesh a little bit here on the bottom of the tongue, which does allow for a little bit of airflow, but that's like the only place where there is airflow, right? Everywhere else, not a lot of airflow, right? And then here in the ankle area, we have like an average amount of padding. It's not super well padded either. So yeah, the overall material, the quality is pretty dang good for the suede, especially for the price tag, but I wish they would make the toe box a little bit nicer, right? So there is the material there. Also, another thing that I like are the tags. It has the Series Player Only logo here, but also on the medial side, it says Ranger. And if you guys didn't know, this shoe's overall design was inspired by the Cybertruck. And the Cybertruck kind of logo is what they're using for the Ranger font, which is pretty cool. So I thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, so there is the material there. Moving on to the fit. So the fit is just like all the other Player 1 Plus and all the shoes that Series Player Only have made. So I did go up half a size and fits me pretty dang well. I did have a shoe that was true to size, and it was kind of like narrow and kind of hitting my pinky toe a little bit and squeezing it. It was kind of uncomfortable. So I like going up half a size for all their shoes, like the Player 1 Plus, the Ranger 1. So yeah, and also another thing that I really like about the fit, like I said, going up half a size, there is a little bit of length, you know what I mean? Obviously, because I did go up half a size. Going true to size, my foot goes pretty much right to the edge of the shoe, right? But like I don't mind the extra length when I go up half a size because of the lacing system, right? So with all of their shoes, they have a lacing system that goes all the way here into the toe box, you know what I mean? So because of that, it allows you to tighten these eyelets as well, which is kind of like on top of your foot. And a lot of shoes, like most shoes, they have just a material here, right? The laces or the lacing system kind of starts right over here, but with all their shoes, it kind of starts right here and allows you to tighten the fit here on top of your toes, which is awesome, right? So because of that, I don't really mind the extra length all too much. And also I love the lockdown from the actual kind of like silicone material on the drop-in. So I don't really mind the extra length, like, right? And I would suggest, you know, if you do have like a normal size foot, like width, I would say, probably go up half a size because it is uncomfortable for me and a good amount of people as well. But if you have like a narrower foot, then you should probably go true to size, right? So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, is absolutely amazing. So with the suede material, it's really, really supportive, right? My foot is not really moving inside of the shoe. We have good torsional support. And also the lockdown is really good, like I said, from the extra texture that you get from the silicone, right? That red material on top of the drop, and that really grabs your sock. I love that. And also for lateral containment, we have, of course, the drop-in midsole. It has a good kind of like sidewall. So we have that inside of the shoe, like the sidewall from the drop-in midsole, from the heel all the way to the forefoot. And then outside of that, we have the foam coming up acting as a sidewall too. So lateral containment, you're good to go. Your foot is not moving anywhere inside of the shoe. It's not coming out of the footbed. It just feels extremely secured and locked down, which I absolutely loved in this shoe, right? Also, another thing that's pretty cool and unique about this shoe, of course, is the midsole design on the side of the shoe, on the lateral side, right? So this is supposed to be anti-rollover, right? So you literally can't roll your ankle. You know what I mean? I tried rolling my ankle, but then with this kind of shape, it just stops right there. You know what I mean? So you're not really gonna roll your ankle in these, but of course, if you add another shoe to it and you land on someone's foot, it does make it more likely that you're going to roll your ankle, right? So I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't rolled my ankle in these, and it does feel very laterally stable, almost to the point where you can't roll your ankle, but I haven't stepped on someone's foot yet. So just take that with a grain of salt, of course, but that is there for anti-rollover properties, which I think is really, really cool. But it does add a lot to the bulk and heaviness of the shoe, which we'll get into, right? And also, I didn't really have any heel slippage, right? The heel does cup in pretty dang nicely, so I didn't really have any issues with that. So overall support and lockdown is really, really good here in the Ranger 1s. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. So yeah, this shoe is not light, guys. The Ranger 1 comes in at 14.35 ounces. So to put into perspective, the AE1 and hardened volume weight, which is really responsive and nice to play in, amazing performers, they're 15.2 to 15.5 ounces, right? So they're like an ounce heavier than the Ranger 1s. So the Ranger 1 isn't even super heavy, but it's still heavy. You know what I mean? Let's check the other shoe. Yeah, 14.2 ounces, right? So it's definitely a heavy shoe, and also it's bulky, right? If you look at the AE1, nothing really protrudes out on that shoe. You know what I mean? But with the Ranger 1, this is just this right here. You definitely feel that, especially when you're hooping. And like, of course, when I'm just playing in the Ranger 1s and I get used to the shoe, I don't really mind it all too much. You know what I mean? I get used to it. But then when I'm switching around in a lot of shoes, when I'm testing other shoes, for example, like the Big 3 5.0 Quick, which is an extremely lightweight, very minimal feeling shoe, I definitely felt the difference, obviously, right? So yeah, if you don't mind kind of like a bulkier and heavier shoe, then this is still a really good option because you feel extremely quick when you're playing in it, right? You feel a nice bounce from the actual cushioning setup. The traction is top tier. Also with the added outsole curvature, it feels really nice. Support and lockdown is absolutely amazing. So it just feels like really, really fast. You know what I mean? Because when you tell the shoe to do something, it doesn't lag and just kind of like, goes with you, you know what I mean? Versus a shoe that's kind of like soft and mushy where it doesn't feel super responsive. So it does feel extremely responsive, which is great, but it does feel heavy and bulky as well. You definitely feel that. So anyways, there is the weight of the shoe there. Moving on to the aesthetics, I actually really like it. It grew on me a lot, especially laterally, like on the lateral side. And also, what do you guys think of shoes, like hoop shoes that are made to look like casual shoes? Do you guys like that? I feel like that's kind of like the new trend where, you know, you can hoop in the shoe and also wear them casually, which I think is great. You know what I mean? Especially if you're trying to save money. If you want to hoop in them and also like go out a little bit later, maybe this is a great option. You know what I mean? Also like shoes that actually look like hoop shoes. Would you wear them? Like people don't wear them casually. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think? Do you guys like that design or no? And also, do you guys like the aesthetics of this shoe? I do like it here, but when you kind of look at it this way, and see how much this kind of protrudes out, that kind of looks kind of goofy to me, you know. But other than that, I do like the overall design. Also, another thing to note about the Ranger 1 if you're gonna wear them casually is that it does squeak a little bit because of the drop-in midsole, and most drop-in midsole shoes do that, like the Kobe 9, Kobe 11. So now wrapping things up, yeah, so the Ranger 1 is absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed playing in the shoe. The traction is top tier. I love the outsole curvature. The cushion is bouncy. Impact protection is great. Stepping comfort is amazing. Core feel is still pretty dang good. Upper is overall pretty thin. It's supportive. It's great lockdown. It's just a little heavy and also pretty dang bulky, right? So to be honest, this is an amazing performing hoop shoe that also you can wear casually. It's also a very unique design. I definitely feel like a lot of people were asking me like, what are those? Like, are those hoop shoes, you know? And are they good? And I was like, yeah, these are pretty dang nice, right? So if they could just like not have added this, or at least this much, I definitely would have liked it because this adds a lot of bulk to the overall shoe, right? But yeah, if you do like the AE1s or the Harden Volume 8 and you don't mind the heavier and kind of bulkier shoes, especially like the Harden Volume 8, then you definitely will like the Rangers. Of course, if you are looking for a very lightweight and minimal shoe, this isn't the best, but even if you're a guard, you're gonna like this shoe because you can still feel extremely quick and responsive in it. So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Serious Player Only Ranger 1. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave the link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.